Riverside Weekly. We hope your time with us today is thought-provoking, spiritually challenging, and a life-changing experience. Our discussions and messages can be raw, real, and at times very uncomfortable and even controversial. We highly encourage all of our guests and listeners to take notes, leave comments, and when possible, always share what you hear. And now here are your hosts, Pastor Cello and Pastor Mia.
Welcome, everybody. It is Riverside Weekly Podcast. Yay!
Yay! Weekend. It's weekend.
I was like,
Wednesday, not
you
weekend.
You must really want it to be the weekend already.
Dude, Wednesday. It's Wednesday, not the weekend.
It's Wednesday. Burr, burr, burr. Get it together. Right. And in case y'all wanted to know, it is Wacky Wednesday because I'm talking about his hair. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool hair.
Yeah, I told him, I said, you gonna put something with that lovely locks? And he was like, no.
Just this face.
Yeah. I'm going silver and he's going long. I don't know. Or growing it out. So that's his lion's mane over there.
Something.
Anyway, so welcome to the podcast, everybody. Dust yourself off over there. There you go. Today we obviously are talking about something that is trending right now and something that is near and dear to me. So my husband suggested that I vent on this podcast.
Well, she was venting to me.
Yeah. So I've decided that that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to vent because...
We'll call this the venting serve. The venting serve.
No. Let's call it...
Redskins.
No. How about perceptions? Perceptions.
Okay, do tell.
All right. So, really, I know everybody's probably heard about it. I've already had texts come to me, hate mail, hate texts, whatever. We won't say any names. Jay. But what's trending this week is that the Redskins are changing their name. They have been at FedEx Field, by the way, which I got invited to, and I haven't been able to go because of COVID. And I'm really upset because I never got to see a game with the Redskins there, and now they're changing their name. So flips over tables. But I'm wearing my jersey because out of respect and out of homage, paying homage to the team, because this jersey is a special jersey. As you can see, it's got a number 10. That's the Robert Griffin III on there. And, got my cup, got my t-shirt, got my hat, got my wallet, all the Redskin stuff. However, I learned something new this week. And so my perspective has changed. And I know Gil is watching, and Gil, whatever, anyway. But I just want you to know, I'm just throwing this out there. I couldn't find my Redskins cup, and I blamed Gil. I said he hid it. Anyway, because he's a Cowboys fan. And all you Cowboys fans out there, I hope you're wearing masks, because with your Cowboys mask, you can't catch anything. Anyway, so... My perspective,
Shots fired.
Yeah, my perspective has changed this week. And, I am a ride or die Redskins fan. So even if they change their name and they have sucky players and their loss,
win the game.
Yeah, their last loss was 47-16, whatever. Anyway, they're just, I chose this not for their winning streak, obviously. Not for their, I don't know, what is it called? Their ship. What's it called? I don't know. Anyway, I did not choose them for any other reason than the fact that they were near and dear to my heart because I am Native American. And so I was like, oh, look, that is a symbol of me and my heritage and my family. I should become a Redskins fan. And we just talked about this because I was venting, and my husband sings, "What makes the red man red?" And if you've ever seen Peter Pan, you know that they have that song on there. And
That's a bad song.
it really was. We looked up the lyrics and we're listening to it and we're reading the lyrics, and it's saying that the red man was red because a white man kissed an Indian princess and he blushed. And that's how they got the red man. Flips tables. So preference number one. Perspective number one. That was, and I was like, you know.
It was crazy because you never really pay attention to that stuff when you're kids and you watch it and
Yeah.
show it. But when you actually started listening and reading the lyrics, you're like, wow. Like, even the song was like, the whole reason that they have red men or Indian is because of a white man blushing and turning red, that he couldn't turn back pale again, or he couldn't turn white again because he was so in love and he was so embarrassed of being attracted to this woman.
Are we talking about John Smith and Pocahontas?
Well, no, we're talking about
But
Disney.
I'm just saying, could be.
Could be. Anyway, I'm just saying that, like, that's literally in the lyrics of that Walt Disney show. I don't know, what was it, Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, keep going.
So,
Steps off soapbox.
yeah, okay. So, I nevertheless was, and really, honestly, my love for the Redskins didn't even start like that. My love for the Redskins was a love-hate relationship. And, again, I'm just giving you my perspectives. Again, perspectives are like buttholes. Everybody, like opinions. They're like buttholes. Everybody has them and they stink. So these are just my perspectives. Go look at your side of it, okay? I'm just trying to give you my side of the box. Now, the first time it was a love-hate relationship is because my godson and his family loves the Cowboys a whole lot. And they were screaming and shouting at a game that we were watching. And I was like, they were playing the Redskins. And I was like, yeah, hey, what? I'm an Indian. Yeah, go Redskins. And after that, I was ride or die. So,
Many years ago.
many years ago. And so after that, then I realized, okay, it's Native American. I will go ahead and go with that. But then, and I can't find this article, but I'm just gonna have to wing it because you told me to get my facts straight. So I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go. Well, I'm just
because they're gonna fact check you. They're gonna fact check you.
Fact check me, bro. It was at pbs.org, and I can't find it right now, okay? Because PBS needs to get it together with their app, their website. Anyway, so it was an article that popped up yesterday, and it was talking about the name change, and that was the first thing I saw before I got an evil text after that, or I saw an evil message about it. And I was just started reading it because I was like, man, these guys, he was die hard. The owner, he didn't want to change the name, and he has stood his ground from day one. And then I started reading it, and the original owner of the Redskins named it the Redskins because he was a racist white man. And I'm not saying all white men are racist. I'm not. By any means, I'm not.
Right.
I'm just saying that that's what this fact said in the PBS article. And PBS is legit, so I'm...
Most of the time.
So I'm really going to, I was kind of heartbroken because they were the last NFL team to induct a African-American player. And that right there shows you how racist they were, And so I was like, perspective number 2, flipping tables, So I really got upset about it. And then I was just like, man, and thinking about it and venting and just going, okay, I don't know. I'm going to stay with them, and I'm not going to change my, whatever it's called. What do we call it? My thought or my perspective on it, whatever.
Opinion.
Okay. My opinion, I don't want to change because I love the Redskins. And then this happened. So I followed this Native American rapper. Supaman is his name, and he's really legit. And I'm going to play one of his songs for you at the end because it's really, really good. But this is what he said. He said, R.I.P. 1933 to 2020, and he put the Redskins. And let me see. See?
Probably too close. Yeah, right there somewhere.
All right. So he said, I remember growing up and rooting for the teams with Indian mascots because I thought, hey, I'm an Indian. I even wore Cleveland Indian hats and Braves. Then I think I heard a presentation by, and his name is Bobby Dews, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he's a Native American speaker. And Supaman heard him at a conference, and it says, and I changed my view, hearing the facts and origins and how it is unhealthy. I felt foolish because I didn't really research it myself. And all the native mascots are just perpetuating those old stereotypes which are harmful to native youth, mental health, identity, bullying, etc. So I am so happy now to see that Washington is changing its WAC name. I hope every single team, from the Blackhawks to the Chiefs to the Cleveland Indians and the Braves and all the other college and high school teams who think they are honoring Native nations, follow suit. Shout out to everybody who was fighting for this change for decades. And boy, did I just have a paradigm shift right there. After reading that, I felt about this big and was like, I supported it because my heritage is a Native American. I never looked at it from that perspective and that side of it, saying they're degrading us, and they're saying that, they weren't honoring. They weren't doing it to honor, even though we thought it was to honor.
We acknowledged it in that manner.
Yeah, in that manner. And I think that when we look at perspectives, that happens a lot. Am I going to get rid of my jersey? Does that mean I'm going to break my cup? No, I'm not.
She's going to be worth a lot of money a couple months.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be worth, it's our G3, And I'm not finna sell it, so don't even ask. Not that you are haters out there.
No. Price is right.
I'll hide it then.
Need some toilet paper.
But I'm just saying that I had a paradigm shift there and was just like, I cannot believe that I did it for such a foolish reason and never really looked into the background of it,
Most people, but that's most people with most things. We expect, we accept most things we see, we accept at face value. We trust that the people are telling what the people are telling us, or the individual or the corporation or the organization. We expect them to be telling us the truth, and we trust them to do so. And so we don't go back and research. We don't go back and fact check. We don't go back and to see how true this is. And
like teachers that tell us 2 + 2 is 4?
Yeah, like
when it could mean something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to go down that road, we can. but
or one, O-N-E. Shouldn't it be one?
One.
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 Yeah.
It should be one. So a lot of times what we do is we just take that as face value. And we literally get, for lack of better explanation, adjective, is we get suckered into finding our own beliefs, our own understandings on what we think is happening, and not really knowing the intention behind of what was done or what was being said. You're talking about changing the name. What I think is interesting is that the owner and the board didn't change the name because they felt it was the right thing to do. They changed the name because it was going to be financially beneficial to them.
That's right.
With the pressure that they were getting from
FedEx,
sponsors,
sponsors,
for sponsors and
Pepsi.
A lot of the people, vendors and people that they work with, were talking about pulling their products, pulling their sponsorship. So that's when they were like, well, I guess we better change. So that I think I tweeted this the other day. Is you can change the law, you can change the brand, you can change the logo, but you can never change. That does not change, and it never does change a heart, right? So even though even though the owners decided, well, we're going to change the name of the Redskins, or we're going to take Aunt Jemima off the thing, we're going to take Uncle Ben's, like we're going to make all these adjustments, right? But that doesn't change the ownership's perspective. That doesn't change the owner's heart. They're going to just do what they need to do in order to maintain their lifestyle, maintain their income, maintain their revenue that they're trying to create. So the downside or the bad side about it is this: we're all satisfied because the name's being changed, but they still have the belief system. So it doesn't change anything on how they think or operate or do things. They're still going to operate in those same ways. They're still going to do what they want to do. They just change the name. So for them, you can have this win, but I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to still promote and behave and think in that same perspective. And I think for a lot of times, that's where we, as the public and as the consumers, we think, well, it's not Aunt Jemima no more, so we're doing good. Yeah, you're not really doing good. It looks good, but I mean, this sounds bad and rough and even crude, but I mean, when someone dies, you put makeup on them so that they can look good.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so,
true. That's a perspective.
And so I mean, we're not. You can't change your heart, and I think that's where a lot of us are missing it right now with this name change. I remember watching this video, and some of you guys, I'll see if I can put the link in our bio or in the description of the show notes. But there's a video where this African American guy put on a shirt, and it looked like the Redskins logo, but it had a white guy on it, and it said Washington Caucasians, is what it said.
Oh, wow!
And he wore it. He was wearing it around New York, and white people were getting offended and telling him, "Why do you have that on?" Like he tells stories where he was telling a story in the video where he's having confrontation with people because it says Washington Caucasians, but they were okay with Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gives you an idea and perspective of how cultures grow up and how cultures perceive what's actually being said. So I think it's a good thing. I think it probably been a little bit longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the sun goes down and everything's done, the owner and the CEO and the board, we still need to change their hearts. We still need to change their perspective. They're still going to believe the way they believe and think the way they think.
That's why we love your perspective. It's always the opposite of everyone else's. We're like, wow, never looked at it that way. I was just, well, I mean, okay. But it just really gave me a paradigm shift. And I think if we talk about perspectives, we need to have a paradigm shift. Tell us the story about the bus and the man. And I say that because a perspective is how you see it from your angle. But there's more than one angle to things.
Yeah, what she's referring to, I shared this in leadership. I actually got it. The story actually, I can't remember his name. It was Arthur named, his first name's Franco. I can't remember his last name. But it was a story in a book that I read, and it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so by Stephen Covey. Well, in the book, he tells a story of
Franco Sagan.
I can't remember his name. That don't sound right. Anyway, so he tells this story, and I'll tell the story, and it'll help you kind of identify perception. So I do this exercise when I do leadership, and so basically it's like this. And so there's this guy who's he's on a subway. He's in a subway waiting to catch the subway or catch the train. And as he's waiting, he's sitting there. He's got his cup of coffee. He's got his briefcase. He's reading the newspaper. And then 2 or 3 minutes later, these 4 or 5 kids, they come running down, screaming and yelling, hollering, jumping on the trash cans, running up and down the walk area, jumping up and down the bench. And so he's just going on and on and on. And this guy's sitting here, and then shortly after the kids come through, a man walks in just staring into space, comes and sits next to him, and the kids are jumping on the man, jumping on the guy reading the newspaper. And as this is happening, the guy reading the newspaper is looking around, watching the kids, and he looks at the man sitting next to him. He says, "Are these your kids?" And he said, he's just staring in space, just staring straight ahead. And he says, "Yes." And he says, would you please do something with your kids? They're they done knocked over my coffee, knocked over my briefcase. They're just running all over the place, acting crazy. He goes, "Can you get a hold of your kids?" And he's just staring straight ahead. And he says, "Well, I guess I should." He goes, "Yeah, you should get a hold of these kids. They're making a big mess. They're being distracted. They're going to get hurt." And so he goes, "Why don't you tell them something?" He goes, "Well, I guess I should say something." And so he goes, "Yeah, you should say something." And then the man with the kids, he looks at the guy and he says, "I'm just trying to figure out how to tell them tell my kids that their mom just died of cancer, right? And so that man perspective, he had a whole paradigm shift. So he's sitting there complaining about these kids who's running around acting crazy, about a dad complaining and thinking this dad doesn't want to handle his kids because they're misbehaving and running around. And the whole time he doesn't realize that these kids don't even know, they're oblivious to even knowing that their mom just passed away from cancer. And now the dad's trying to comprehend it, trying to process, how do I tell them and what am I going to do? Right? And so when he shared that with the guy that's sitting there with the briefcase of the newspaper and coffee, the man with the coffee and newspaper, his whole thought process changed. So now he went from being frustrated to having compassion. And a lot of times that's where we lack as a society and in culture. We complain about where we're at, but we never think about what's going on with them. We never think about their perspective or what's going on, what experience they're currently having. So we take just what they're doing at face value.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it can be very dangerous because what they're going through or what's happening may not necessarily be what's happening or what's going on with them. Kind of like with the Redskins thing, right? They're making all these changes, but it had absolutely nothing to do with their compassion. It had to do with money.
Yep.
Had to do with finances.
Yep.
And so that's the thing that a lot of us, so it's hard.
See? Paradigm shift. And I have had a paradigm shift. I love the Redskins still. I'm glad they're changing their name. I wish that they would have changed their heart, but I never once looked at it from a Native American perspective or from their, from that culture, because I'm not from that culture. Just because that is my heritage, I didn't realize that it was affecting, affecting my culture that way.
And it happens all the time. I mean, like, you probably experience it with me more than anybody, but we'll walk anywhere
all the time,
and we'll walk into a restaurant. It doesn't matter where we're at. If there's a Hispanic or Latin descent person, Mexican, whatever you want to put on them.
I mean, I'm not that much lighter than you, but evidently I am.
But when they start talking to me, they immediately start talking to me in Spanish.
And I'm like, no,
I don't speak Spanish.
He doesn't understand.
Well, then I had a couple of instances. One probably about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I'm walking down a parking lot, and as I'm walking, there's an older white couple that walks that's walking beside me, and in earshot distance. So I mean, you can hear what's being said. You can hear the conversation. There's a bunch of workers. I think they're painters or construction or something. So they're getting ready to start their work. So they're at their place of business. They're getting ready to pack up their trucks or whatever. So all these guys are out there. They're all talking Spanish, and we're just walking by. So we're a little ways from them, but
you're
you can
with
hear
the
them.
White couple.
We're with the white. I'm with the white couple, older white couple, and they look over at me and say, "What are they talking about?" And I'm going, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I don't even speak Spanish. But it's things like that I could be offended with and go, bro, that was super racist. Yeah. That was super prejudiced, But from their perspective, they just assume because of the color of my skin that I should know what they're saying.
Right.
And a lot of times
you could have been Samoan.
And so a lot of times that's what we do as minorities and Blacks and Hispanics and Latinos and Asians. We think just because we see a white person that they're racist.
Yeah.
We think just because we see a white person that they operate, use, and abuse white privilege, or that, you know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that we have to have those relationships. We have to change how we're looking at things a lot of times, and we don't like doing that.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. But I just wanted to talk about perspectives because I think everything is just based on perspectives. What do you always say about the 90%?
Yeah, well, 90%
is perception and 10% is reality, right? Or is that backwards?
Well, I always say 90% is what's happening around us. Mm-hmm. I mean, 90% is us, and 10% is what happens around us. So
90% is the way we see it.
How we see things, how we respond, what we do. And
react.
10% and react. 10% is actually what's happening around us.
Okay.
And what we do is we flip it around and we say that 90% of it is everything else, and 10% is us. And it's really we have the power and the ability to change our perspective, how we react, how we do things. Yes. And it's only 10% that's really affecting us.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is that each one of us need to have a paradigm shift. And you always say that, well, you haven't walked in my shoes. You know, that's what they're saying. They're saying that you can't see from my perspective. You don't know what I've dealt with. You don't know. And for me, that was with the Redskins. I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know he was racist. Number one, I didn't look at it as he was making fun of, you know, my heritage. And I never heard from a chief or a Native American tribe. And so now that I see that it's offensive to them and it's hurting their feelings, not honoring them, it changed my perspective. Now, I don't wear this jersey because we lose a lot, period. But that doesn't change my love for the team. I'm going to be a ride or die. So,
Well, it looks like y'all about to die.
Hey. Anyway, we'll end there. But just saying all that to say that I think that we need to, at some point, we need to reevaluate our perspectives. That's really what I wanted to say. You know, it's never too old to change your thought process, and we constantly should be renewing our mind anyway. Yep. So if we can't do that, then we're really not growing. Isn't that what you said the other day? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're really not growing if we're not willing
to change.
Yeah,
you got to change.
Yeah, you got to be willing.
You can't grow without change, and it's you can't grow without change. You have to have change in order to grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna take us out with this song because Supaman is legit. By the way, you should go look him up. He's got several, but this is one of my favorite songs. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope we helped you change your perspective or have a paradigm shift in your life.
Like us, follow us, share. Appreciate you guys tuning in every week.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. No what?
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. No why? I don't wanna hold